Welcome. This is Ad Emmen reporting live from our 4 meters below sea level studio in downtown Almere. About 3 years ago, the EuroHPC started its journey to bring Europe on the forefront of high-performance computing in the world again. After 3 years, we see now several things emerging and activities becoming a reality. So we talked to Anders Jensen from the EuroHPC joint undertaking. That's now a legal entity. And we talked already to several people who are running projects funded by the EuroHPC joint undertaking. Today, we want to discuss about 2 of the pre-exascale systems for which now the contracts have been signed. The first one is the Leonardo system, and the other one is the LUMI system. And I'm happy to have in our studio Sanzio Bassini, who's representing the Leonardo Consortium, and Kimmo Koski, who's representing the LUMI Consortium. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sanzio, can you please tell a little bit about the system that you have in mind, so the Leonardo system?
Yes. First of all, I think that it's important to spend a few words with respect of our consortium and the rationale behind the idea of involving countries and other participating states in the Leonardo actions. In reality, Slovenia, Austria, Slovakia, Hungary, and Greece, that it's going to formally join, to participate to the consortium in a sort of in-kind cooperation, not in terms of real funding contribution. But we would considering that enlarging the involvement of other countries, especially countries that it would cover the southern eastern part of Europe. Southern's important. From this point of view, Greece, it's important even because that would represent an opportunity for addressing what are some kind of digital twins for Mediterranean areas and for supporting the interactions with respect of the Mediterranean area, either from the point of view of the environmentals, either from the point of view of the research and innovation support. So that it's about the consortium. Very few words with respect of the process. I think that it's important to underline that at the very beginning of the story, 3 years ago, as has been recalled, there was a lot of consideration about the potentials, objectives, and the outcome that it may come out from the procurement process. One of the, you see, a sort of very challenging objective was for a performance of the systems in the range of 100, 150 petaflop, with some consideration related to the exploitations and to the deployment of the systems. In reality, I think that the fairness of the process, the capability and the trustability of the players involved lead to important outcomes that would overtaken significantly what it was the you see main target. We are talking about in our case systems that would have a sustained performance in excess of 250 petaflops, which is not in reality the extremely performance capability that could be obtained considering some cappings that were in the procurement as budget, power, energy capping, energy efficiencies, all those aspects. But it's quite significant from the point of view of what it's one of our aim, which is represented by the immediate productivity of the system. The point related to the productivities of the systems, it's very much important, including what is the exploitations of you see, real European technologies. I'm talking about the outcome of the deep track related to the towards beta scales and exascales actions that have been funded by the European Commission since a while, that do provide the modularity capability. And from this point of view, the modular computing technology would be one of the components of the system that would combine in a modularity way the general purpose partitions with the booster partitions. And in principle, they may do provide opportunity for further integrations of other partitions. You see, maybe also based on new technologies, new possible incoming technology as quantum technology, quantum computing technology, or maybe others kind of accelerator as neomorphing or other kind of accelerators. So that it's on overall the scheme of the systems. Just to complete from the point of view of the ideas and visions, the stacks that we have in mind would combine opportunity for traditional kind of access to the systems together with cloud-wise access to the systems, which is very much important for providing services to industries to support the innovations. That because typically the idea is to, docking and to, combine data applications and interfaces in one single bot, okay, in a sort of block, which is the typical way for having access to virtual systems under the technology as Singularity, just mentions, and other kind of cloud-wise technology. So that it's in more or less a few words what it will be the overall pictures. Finally, I think that would be an important issues. The specific characteristics. We are talking about the component provided by Intel on one side with respect of the hosting part in the booster partitions, and NVIDIA with respect of the accelerators component that use for accelerators, would immediately exploit the opportunity for TensorFlow kind of workload. So which one related to deep learning and artificial intelligence, with potentially a very extreme performance in excess of many exaflop if we are talking in that context, but that it's I wouldn't overexpose the peak performance or sustained performance using TensorFlow codes. But I think that, generally speaking, the combination of what it would be implicit, or let's say a model represented by what would come from machine learning and artificial intelligence kind of application would be very much significant and important. Ultimately, just to complete this point, the system will be integrated by Atos Bull, which is a European integrators, which I think is a potential added value for the process of presidiating the technology for the high performance computing at the European level.
Okay, thank you very much for this introduction. Kimmo, can you tell a little bit about the consortium that you have, leading from Finland, and the system characteristics?
Yeah, yes, of course. So the LUMI Consortium, actually we have a combination of 10 countries. So all the Nordic countries, 5 Nordic countries, plus Estonia, Czech Republic, Switzerland, Poland, and Belgium. And here the approach is a bit different. So the consortium partners, they don't put to this project kind of in-kind resources only. Well, there are a lot of in-kind resources also involved in this development, but I mean consortium partners invest real money. So the budget of the LUMI has been well, it's exceeding 200 million euros, so total cost of ownership for these systems until the end of 2026. And actually half of this comes from the European Commission or JU, and 1/4, about 50 million, comes from the Finnish state, and the rest, the 50 million, comes from the other LUMI countries. And so I think this is, at least in our area, this is the first time ever, I think, when substantial funding is actually invested together. So with this funding, we have been able to agree on a joint approach and bought one single system, or not a single system, but one single supercomputing environment, which is placed in one place location, which is the Kajaani data center in center Finland, in an old paper mill. So I think this is a new way of doing things. I mean, investing together and sharing competence and knowledge, and also this way sharing resources. And I think that is something that we should now, if and when successful, we should also do it much more often. And the consortium has excellent collaboration, of course. We are enthusiastic about this, and also very good collaboration with JU, who is involved with Anders Dam Jensen, for example, has been involved with our discussions already, and so really looking forward to this in the future, especially because also last week, as you know, we published the results of the procurement. And ended up having more than half an exaflop system after this procurement. So we're going to install something like over 550 petaflops size of a machine, which we at the time of installation next year, it will be one of the top machines in the world. So in terms of performance, of course, and so this is something that we were not we didn't even let's say expect that we would be able to come so high in this, and that opens up new possibilities, of course, for the European research, and in many ways also for the LUMI countries. And so there are some details published about the architects. So the petaflop number was published, and we expect the impact to be something like 375 or beyond, but I mean that remains to be seen. But I mean then about the systems, one of the how to say planning principles has been also that it's not only high-end computing, not only the most extreme computing project that are going to be solved with LUMI, but it's more or less a combination of different kind of resources for different kind of needs. So we have there, of course, the peak performance capabilities, or peak sustained performance capabilities for the high-end applications, And but at the same time, there's a considerable amount of resources suitable for example, artificial intelligence and machine learning, or data intensive computing, etc., etc. So we expect in the future that also to be a platform where you can actually add resources. So now we have a LUMI there. There's discussion about quantum computing, as also Sanzio was referring here, and maybe cloud computing, different kind of topics that can be attached there. And so the focus is not only in running one of the world's most efficient supercomputers, but focus is also how to build an ecosystem around that. So combination of research and innovation and enterprises working together and boosting the European competitiveness in that side.
Yeah, if I can continue about that. So what is exactly the goal that you have with these systems? So what in the end are the marks that you put on the horizon for, let's say, research and supporting research, supporting industry, and supporting European policy?
Are you asking for me or Sanzio both?
Yeah, if you can start, and then Sanzio can perhaps.
Okay. So, of course, we've been running supercomputers for quite some times, tens of years, and mostly for research. Very much, let's say, the focus has been much on research. Sometimes weather forecast and other related things also, and industrial usage has been well, with the different depends on the case with the different amount. And now, of course, this the new approach gives well, it also gives much better opportunities or possibilities for the European high top research to be able to solve new kind of problems. Simply because they have more capacity available, and there's also the applications have been developed, etc. But I mean, this also allows other things like, for example, putting more and more focus on top of the research, also the innovation side or the enterprises. And for that reason, for example, there's a plan that 20% of the system would be, or maximum 20 would be available for European industry, and that applies to the JU rules also for the whole system. But we also intend to use that in the countries like Finland and the other LUMI countries, also as a booster for research and innovation collaboration. But basically, I think much of the use will be similar kind than today. It only opens up new opportunities because we can do things that was never before possible due to the extremely good performance and otherwise development. And then at the same time hoping that it's possible to extend the utilization of computational resources to new areas of sciences. For example, social sciences has been pretty much involved in the later phase. So it will also put attention to that the scope of the usage will hopefully be broadened.
Okay, Sanzio, can you tell a little bit about the long-term goals that you have? You already mentioned the Mediterranean.
Yes, of course. I would say, I mean, include in the contribution that I'm trying to share with you everything that Kim already said, and that we are, I would say, part of the same ecosystems. So we're talking about EuroHPC. We're talking about the regulations that we committed to comply with, and we are talking about some drivers in terms of scientific cases that we share since a while. I mean, I'm talking about the PRAISE scientific cases. I'm talking about the extreme earth scientific cases. I'm talking about materials science and energy physics scientific cases, which one that we are referring to. I mean, as usual. From the point of view of some characterizations, what I would like to add is the following. First of all, the Leonardo systems will be combined with two other systems that will overlap in production, at least for the first half of the first half in time, so periods with the Leonardo. Then we will see how to progress with respect of those other two platforms. One, which is represented by the Eurofusion systems, and the other, which is represented by Marconi 100, which is the Italian tier 0 system that is by chance in the top 10 of the top 500 already now. So from this point of view, we are talking about two others big configurations. So Leonardo, it will be combined in this context, and then by chance it happened that just aside, in terms of aside of the world, on the others entrances of the data center locations, it will be hosted the data center of CMWF. So with respect of those specific contextualizations of capability, performances, but also ecosystem and know-how, we do have some 2 or 3 specific target at European maybe and at national level also. With respect of the European level, one of the main targets is to support what will be the Green Deal and digital transformations, leading to what will be the main challenge represented by the decarbonizations and the CO2 subtractions for addressing what will be the mitigations of the climate changes, and those to support what it will be the European process towards what will be the sustainable economy and the sustainability of our life on the planet. Sorry for that. It's one side at European level. Instead, from the point of view and in combination with what been the European integrations, there will be a couple of main targets, main objectives at the national level. One, it's exactly referring to the resiliencies of the national systems with the opportunity to share potential experiences and trends at the European level related to what would be the natural disasters situations. The pandemic related to the COVID-19 contagious is just one of the examples. Maybe later I can say something more, but just to make an example, COVID is one. There will be many others. Natural disasters issues. You know that Italy is, from the seismological point of view, extremely critical, and so I mean the topic of resilience with respect of earthquake or extreme situations related to the territory, it's one of the other topics. And ultimately, there is the other point related to the, which is connected to the decarbonizations and the CO2 subtractions, which is represented by the opportunity for transformations of main industrial plants in a sustainable way. In particular, there is one specific challenge which is represented by the plant in Taranto, related to one of the largest irons productions in Europe, that it would represent from the impact a very main issues and challenge. And so the idea is to support the sustainability of the industrial production. So we're talking about the iron and steel. So the idea is to support this kind of national challenge in the European visions of the Green Deal. So that just to provide some specific topics. Finally, there has been a very important mention by Kimmo related to the socials, in general speaking, social science and humanities. And from this point of view, one of the points it will be to address in a holistic way the complexity systems, including the metropolitan systems, for everything that it would address the point related to the transportation's mobility, but also the urbanistics life of the town, and finally the interactions of the inhabitant and the city's ecosystems from the point of view of the real life. So that it will be another point that it will be addressed in collaboration with the foundation that has been created in Bologna for the development process of the Bologna Science Park, that has a very, you see, self-explaining name. The name of the foundation is Big Data and Artificial Intelligence for Human Development. So I mean, combination of what will be the opportunity for big data processing and artificial intelligence methodology for the human development, okay, for the development of what will be the daily life of the people. So that is just to provide some of the topics and the challenges that are the aims of the outcome of the enabling capability of the Leonardo. And overall speaking, EuroHPC systems, okay, in the sense that, I mean, I do considering LUMI and the Mare Nostrum 5 that will be part of this context, part of the same, you see, overall visions and pictures.
Kimmo, can you comment a little bit about how the, so not only the 3 pre-exascale systems, but also the 5 other petascale systems and the other national supercomputers, how they will collaborate? I mean, the centers.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Although the final decisions and final approach to this is not yet fully decided, because the discussion is now going on. So of course, in the beginning of this project, or the EuroHPC project, we were quite much focusing on the competition between the different sites and the funding and the other related things, and then for the procurement. And now, since when the decision have been made, because it's kind of also confidentiality involved there, and now decisions have been made, and at least 2 out of the 3 pre-exascale systems have been published, and hopefully soon also the Barcelona one, and 5 petascale systems are now known. So I think now it's a time to start intensifying the discussion about what kind of collaboration we are going to have, because now we have a great opportunity in the Europe to, this joint European HPC ecosystem, and this is something that of course needs to work smoothly together, and this work we are now starting. Fortunately, we have existing methods here, like okay, we know each other, and we have a lot of common projects, and we have a common user bases, etc. So I think it will be very easy to start discussing about how this in practice will work. And we have, well, the time is going now fast, of course, but during the next year, when all the systems are installed, then I think we have already a working system. And at the same time, we have been practicing European collaboration in HPC already 10 years in praise, or more than 10 years in praise. And there is also some existing ways how we do it. So all the elements are there in place. But then who is running what and where, this is of course something to be decided. And one of the key things that is now on the development phase or on the table, I would say, is, for example, resource allocation policies. That what are the who will be able to use under what terms, etc., and how does industry get involved, and so on and so on. And this discussion and this study is now going on, at least in all of the LUMI countries, because then you want to hook, and I'm sure that's the same thing in Leonardo and Mare Nostrum, and also the petaflop sites. And because this way you want to hook, of course, the national needs to European needs, and actually many of the projects, as we know, are international. So how can we, for example, support the European research infrastructures through these elements, and what is the role of the, because Commission kind of owns the systems in pre-exascale case, but also half of the resources are in their control. So how does Commission or JU want to what kind of resource granting policy is there, and how does it fit with the national and the consortium size of policies? So a lot of things that we should try to put together and actually have a very logical and a joint approach, and this discussion is now going on.
Yeah, I can imagine that that's difficult because it's not a monolithic machine, but very modular. But one module could block the use of another module, and how do you do that in resource allocation? That seems difficult. Yeah.
Yes, also, but there's also opportunity, because fortunately, all the machines, or most of the machines, are not the same, not similar. So there is heterogeneity there, and there's also heterogeneity in technology. So, and some of the applications might fit better to something that is run in Leonardo or something that is run in LUMI. So there is a possibility for us to optimize it in European level now when the rules of the game are becoming clear.
Yeah, of course, you need a very fast network interconnect to that. Yeah. And I understand both centers have a very high network bandwidth into the center. So that will be no problem, I assume?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Sanzio probably can tell about Leonardo, but I mean, from our point of view, that has the networking connections, they have been evaluated already during the competition phase. And I mean, for example, in Kajaani data center there, which is an old paper mill, we have a research, the Finnish University and Research Network, the part which is part of our part of GEANT, is actually the fiber is coming from 4 different directions. So I think that it's actually quite reliable and also fast, and they have just recently been renewed, and now there are a lot of networking development happening. For example, we're talking about Arctic cable, sea cable from the northern Finland to Asia, Japan, and so on. And there is already a cable to Germany. So the network is in the research run network is will not be a problem in our case. And actually, it also requires four caterpillars digging in the wrong location without knowing each other at the same time to cut the network. So it's also pretty reliable. So
yeah.
Oh yes,
yeah, that's a very small chance. Yeah.
No, I would say that the networking it's not an issue. On the other hand, it's a challenge in the sense that we have to address altogether what will be the next step in terms of hyperconnectivity with respect of the big data center infrastructures and diesel infrastructure in Europe, where at the very beginning and at the very top priority there will be the pre-exascale systems, preparing what will be the next step towards the exascale and post-exascale. So the point is not what happens nowadays, where we do have already, as Kimmo said, I mean, the services in very strong failover related to what would be a high bandwidth at the state of the art. The point is how to address hyperconductivity, how to consider that there will be interconnections that it will be in the order of terabit per second, and to address what will be the projections of the computational performance on the desk of the researchers and the users, and that it would lead to what will be the way for developing and rearranging and reassembling the application in a way that the computational part, the data processing part, the interfaces would be modulated in a proper way, that it would exploit what would be the opportunity for sharing data at the European level through hyperconnectivity, and at the same time projecting the performances at the level of the users, at the level of the you see researchers on their location, on their sites. So that it will be the reality about the networking, okay, not the you see logistic practice nowadays. I mean that it's something very well known and the state of the art in I mean we do sharing already data with CSC and the others centers because of praise, because of many others European collaborations. Okay, so the point is the next step towards hyperconnectivities, and the next step towards the reassembling of the applications in a modular way that it would project to the users the potentiality and the enabling capability of the systems.
Okay, thank you. Kimmo, when can we expect the first, let's say, scientific results? When will the systems be in production, and will there be researchers and people from industry on it?
Yeah. In LUMI, the first phase should be operational in spring, April, May maybe. So, and well, the scientific results are probably already available. Some pilot projects before it's in production use, and the rest of the system will come in the end of next year. So the whole system should be operational well before the end of the year 2021. So at the moment, constructions of the data center or the widening the data center, we already have our own national systems since 2012 in production, but now the new data center there next door, the constructions are practically on time. So I think this will not be a limiting factor. So we are pretty confident about the schedule, and well, let's hope no nasty surprises through Corona or something else happens. But I mean, at the moment it looks very promising.
Okay, thank you. And for the Leonardo system?
The scheduling, it's luckily on time, just because the adequation of the site would in progress nowadays, and we didn't experience the lockdown conditions that at the beginning of this year produce some strong impact, at least in our area and in Italy. So we are, from the point of view of the site adequation on time, from the point of view of the scheduling for the delivery of the systems, the booster partitions should have to be in productions for the beginning of 2022. So I mean, the idea is beginning the installation of the systems at the end of 2021, waiting for the availability of the components that would be integrated into the systems. I'm talking about the Ampere Plus GPUs from NVIDIA, the second partitions, the general purpose partitions, which will be based on Intel Sapphire Rapid technology, will be installed at the very beginning of 2022. So the idea is to beginning the production of Leonardo, let's say, beginning of 2022, with the completions of the systems in the first quarter of 2022. All that waiting for the availability of the technological component that will be integrated into the systems. That's our schedules, which is, as I said, on time, in the sense that we could carry on the procurement during the lockdown, quite luckily, because it was very virtualizing in somehow, while in case the physical activities would have received some delay, which is not our case, but just to, mentioning what's been happened with respect of the ACMWF centers that is in the same locations. There have been some 2 or 3 months of delay of postponing due to the contagion due to the pandemic for coronavirus.
Thanks. Sanzio already mentioned COVID and national disaster applications. So that means that there are applications that at one point in time could require a lot of computation time, and then you need to adapt to that. Do you also have something for that in mind for the LUMI, Kimmo?
Yes, of course. So I think the pandemic has also taught us new ways of working. Like, for example, I think most of the European supercomputer centers already, and global supercomputer centers, have been putting ad hoc, or let's say very fast track resources to COVID research, and there has been collaboration in the European Union and in PRAISE, and all of us, CINECA and CSC and many others have been contributing there with special track, fast access, and I think this way of work will definitely continue. And now, depending on the case, I think we should be prepared for these kind of things. And I mean, the decision making for such resources is not that difficult. It only requires well, it can be done very fast. So we will maintain this kind of track, of course. And I think in the globally disastrous situations in the future, also when these kind of things happen, I'm sure that everybody, including all the 3 consortiums and petascale consortium plus EU or JU, are doing their best to allocate resources as soon as possible. So that's another asset I think we will have also here in this joint approach and investing in this kind of resources here in Europe.
Okay, thanks.
Let me add just one point. I take the opportunity to share with you a couple of things specifically in this area. One is referred to the escalator for COV actions, which has been funded just for supporting the drug design against COVID. And there have been already, and so currently the docking part of the simulations, it's running on the systems around Europe. CINECA is one of which. Then there will be other systems, including the CSC systems and the CSCS also. I mean, both either in Finland and in Switzerland, Mare Nostrum 4 and the EuroHPC system also. And it happened that for commitment also the ENI, the Italian oil and gas company, has been included in the sense that they're being committed. And there have been already some good results. There have been the reloxifene, that is the first molecule that has been found that has been in clinical trial now. And there will be another couple of molecules that looks very effective, that are in animal certification now, and that very soon will also be clinical certifications. So I think that is in concrete a very strong example of what it could have been done. Okay, so that we are talking about the new draft that has been designed in, let's say, quite some time, but not very much and not so long as it happens since some years ago without the availability of the HPC enabling technology. That is one point. The next one, it's the way and the looking ahead with respect to what it will be the capability that Europe may have worldwide, if it would be possible, having resiliences against the pandemics. That would be the other actions related to the management of the course of contagion in Europe. And so that kind of project, that has been started a couple of months ago. It's at the very beginning, but looking ahead, it would be quite significant. The point is supporting using methodology mostly based on machine learning and artificial intelligence, collecting the data at the European level related to what would be the clusters of contagious in order to support the decisions systems for addressing measures of containment. That is very much important in the sense that we have to combine, and that is, I think, in the top priority of the agenda of any country and any member states in Europe, the idea of managing the containment of the contagious and at the same time having the capability to maintain open the productivity of the systems. Okay, because otherwise, from the economical point of view, it will be unsustainable, the measures of a strong lockdown as it happens in the first phase of the pandemic. So the idea of supporting a sort of clinical, let's say, surgical precision actions against the cluster of contagious in order for addressing the containment and not for spreading the measures related to the lockdown of any kind at European level. So that is, I think, another very important step ahead. Of course, the outcome, it will take some months. Okay, so that the scientific community is just working on this topic, but it will represent a sort of long-term investment. So the idea is that in the next situations, considering that the pandemics, it will be one of the issues that we have to cope with, that we have to face with in our, you see, evolutions systems, considering that there are still a lot of virus pandemics. The HIV is one, the SARS, generally speaking, it's still there. Ebola, it's another very big issues worldwide. So the idea of having the capability of addressing the drug design as short as possible and the containment of the propagations of the cluster of contagious, it would be represent an asset that it will be in the hands of the European systems enabled by the HPC technology and the HPC investment that are, you see, addressed in those days, these days. So that is, I think, very much important.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we covered a lot of ground. Are there any closing remarks from you, Sanzio? Or did we cover everything?
The idea is, I think that we have covered the most. It's been really very much a pleasure. I think that the last remark that I would like to share is that all this process would ever happen if there would not be a European vision. Okay, if there would not be a vision that the combinations and the joining of the effort and know-how and economical capability would the only way for safeguarding our, let's say, welfare systems, generally speaking. Okay, and I think that it's a very important outcome of what has been done in that context. Hopefully, the next step will be related to the technological capability of presidiating the HPC technology with respect of microprocessor, with respect of integration of the systems, and so on and so forth. But I think that it's a very, very much important objective, very much important outcome that has been reached, and so we do need to persist this way.
Thank you very much. Kimmo, do you have any last comments?
Yes. Well, during the last couple of years, it has been very interesting. So I just great thanks to the whole LUMI Consortium and all my colleagues who have done a great work, plus the Commission also and JU, of course. I think the years ahead are even more interesting, and now we have a chance to do something that is something we haven't ever done before, or at least reach to the new level. One interesting thing somebody might wonder is actually that LUMI, the word LUMI stands for snow in Finland. It's also a lady's name in some countries, but LUMI means snow, and actually it comes from large unified modern infrastructure. So what do you think, which was first, the acronym or the content?
Compliment.
Yeah.
Compliment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I saw also that you mentioned it somehow referred to it as the Queen of the North or something like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of.
I guess that
there is a snow queen, and this is all this the fairy tales and then the kind of
yeah.
what do you call it? The stories about that. So I think it fits quite well. And by the way, the decoration of the machine room will be kind of a pile of snow. I don't know the English word for that, but it's inside snow. So I think free cooling would be pretty important here, I think. Yeah.
Will that be real snow? I mean, like the things that we once every few years see here?
I hope. Yeah, I hope not, because it will not be freezing all the time, even if we are in central Finland. So.
Yeah. Anyway, it's nice.
But as soon as COVID allows to travel, I invite you all to see. It will be quite impressive, I think.
Yeah,
Definitely,
I would love to go there, and I also would love to see the Leonardo and to see the people in CINECA and the people there. Yeah, of course.
You are invited since now, of course, and I would be happy to visit Cataniami Center again. Hopefully that the pandemic, this currently critical situation, will be over very soon. The opportunity for having this kind of video conference do represent a very big improvement, but I don't know to say, I mean, the convivial part, I miss very much the convivial part of the interaction with the good friends that, I mean, in the last 10 years, we share
it will come sooner or later. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I would thank you both very much for talking to us and to explaining the Leonardo and the LUMI Consortium. And so thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, both.
Yeah.
Thank you very much again.
Same to you.
For Premier Magazine, this was Ad Emmen reporting.